Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Lyle, and this is WNBA Weekly, the show where twice a week, usually on Mondays and Fridays, I will stand in front of this camera and talk about some of the things that happened recently in the association and a few things I'm looking forward to in the upcoming days. So to quickly recap some of this weekend's action, starting on Friday, you have the Mercury and the Fever both getting their fourth consecutive wins and the Storm getting their fourth consecutive loss. Minnesota was looking to get their fourth consecutive win, but they fell to the hands of the Sky and Elena Delle. And then on Saturday, you had Odyssey Sims returning to action for the Tulsa Shock as they continue to defend their home court well. They completely dismantled the LA Sparks. Then on Sunday, you had a full slate of action, starting with McCoughtry going off for 32 points and just dismantling the Liberty. So the Dream dropped New York. And then you have Connecticut versus Chicago, and Cappie Pondexter has her best game of the season. Chicago wins their third straight game. Connecticut, that's their first road loss of the season and their third consecutive loss overall. Then you have the Phoenix Mercury, Griner dominated, and they get their fifth straight win while handing Seattle their fifth straight loss. And last but not least, you've got the Minnesota Lynx, just a dominating defensive performance, holding the Stars to just 49 total points on the game. They were in control from start to finish. Was barely even a contest. And looking at the Eastern Conference right now, in the West, you've got like three solid playoff contenders. You've got the Shock, which, as long as they continue to play well at home, that they're pretty much guaranteed a spot. They'd have to really fall off to just get knocked out. Because right now we know Minnesota's going to be number one, Phoenix is going to be number two, Shock probably going to hold on to that third spot just because the three teams below them are just... they're fighting for that lottery pick. They really are. But the Sparks, we're still expecting Candace Parker back. So I still expect them to get into that fourth seed when she comes back, if she comes back. She said she's going to come back, so I'm going to keep believing that she's going to come back. Unless she comes out and says, change my mind, I'm not going to play, go ahead and get us that first overall pick. I'm going to expect her to come back and expect this team to fight back into that playoff standing. And in the Eastern Conference, it's just a jumbled mess. That one's going to be exciting to watch out for. What you really have to pay attention is to not the wins, but the loss columns, because you can make up the wins, you cannot make up the losses. So just looking at that loss column, it's basically a three-way tie for second place right now, with Connecticut one game in front of them and the Fever just one game behind the pack. So that's just going to be a very exciting conference to watch all season, because there might not be anything locked up until those final couple of weeks of the season. So, the season's getting more exciting as we keep going along, isn't it? And now, some of the games to look forward to in this coming week. And so, for all of these games, I'm going to say Eastern Standard Time. So, adjust it for your own time zone and to see whatever that is. And also, I'll announce which ones are being broadcast nationally, but otherwise check your local listings to see what games you get in your area, or you can watch every single one of these games on WNBA Live Access. And so starting on Tuesday, you've got Minnesota at Connecticut, two teams at the top of their respective conferences. Difference is Minnesota, they've had to fight to reclaim the top spot for these past couple of weeks, while Connecticut, they started off so hot. They've been holding on to the top spot, but they've got a 3-game losing streak and could easily get knocked out of first place by the end of this week. Then you've got Atlanta at Phoenix. And Atlanta, they've had some good wins, but they're still under 500, while Phoenix, they're on a long winning streak right now, and they'll be tough to beat, especially at home. They're still one of the best home teams in the league. And then on Wednesday, you've got San Antonio at New York. This one is going to be broadcast on NBA TV at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means, if you live in California, it's going to be 8 a.m. So you can watch this game while you're eating your breakfast, or while you're stuck in traffic for 3 hours. Either way, it's going to be a good early morning start to your game. And then you've got Washington at Chicago. That one's going to be at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry, my throat. It's early in the morning. Then you've got Los Angeles at Seattle, that one's at 3 p.m. And then you've got Tulsa at Indiana, that one's at 7 p.m. So you got a full slate of games on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we've got... Thursday, you've got 2 games on the docket. You've got Atlanta at Los Angeles. That one's going to be at 3 p.m. And then you've got Connecticut at New York at 7 p.m. And so, yeah, that one could be interesting because New York has the potential to climb up into first place. Connecticut could fall as low as 3rd or 4th, maybe even potentially 5th. I don't know. I'll have to check. But I think, depending on what happens with some of these other teams, they could really drop this week if they don't get a win. So they're a team worth paying attention to. Started off so well, but they're starting to look like what we expected them to. So it's going to be a fun week to pay attention to. So yeah, that's it for this episode of the Fan Perspective. Tune in on Friday for another all-new edition. But until then, I am your host, Nathan Lyle. This has been the WNBA Weekly. Have a good week. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. All that other shit. Ooh, I'm not good with mornings. I'm really not.